Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the podcast known as The Life I'm Lovin', quote unquote. I'm your host, Vincent, and here with me is my co-hostess with the mostest, my little almost 4-year-old quadruped, Scarlett. Scarlett, can you speak? Good girl. So, Scarlett and I are here for a few reasons. First of all, both of us love to communicate. Scarlett with her little barky barks, and I with my little wordy words. The podcast, known as The Life I'm Lovin', quote unquote, is simply that. And I say quote unquote because the life I'm lovin' is something I would love every person listening to this podcast to reflect about and think about what they love about their life. And that's what this podcast aims to do. It's pretty much bringing out the positivity and the negativity, the things, people, places that we love that tend to outweigh the negative aspects that life comes with. Everything comes with a price, of course. All of those classic quotes that I'll be using throughout the time that you allow me to speak into your ear holes. I want to dive deeper into not only the positivity that people feel and the things that people tend to gravitate towards when they are down, but also those down times. Like I said, you can't have light without darkness to contrast each other, to make those great times feel even greater. Usually, the best moments come from times where you're at your lowest, mentally, physically. And so my goal is to just spread awareness that life is great, and as long as we're doing the best we can, that's what matters. And so before I really dive into specific topics and conversations and stories and things of that nature, I just kind of want to let you know a little bit about me, a little bit about who you're getting into this roller coaster with, a little bit about who is going to be making some sort of funny face, most likely the most serious face possible, at the end of the roller coaster when they take your picture at the big drop or the very end of the ride and you get off of the roller coaster and see, oh look, it's 5, 6, 4, 7, let's see. And it's me completely blank faced, just staring immediately at the camera. I guess that should tell you a little bit about me, but just the basics. Of course, I am 28 years of age. I was born May 21st of 1995. I do dabble in a lot of different things. I find interest in a lot of different topics, and one thing that I'm afraid of when it comes to making a podcast that I have studied and listened to different podcasts describing is the fact that my podcast can possibly be too broad. And so in order to narrow down what I am trying to do here, you guys need to know who I am. And like I said before, I do have a broad knowledge for a lot of different topics, and I want to talk about so many different things because I feel like everyone's got something they love about life that maybe the next person doesn't love about life, or doesn't know that this is something that is worth loving and is something that can brighten their day. And so one of the things that I've always been into at a young age is cartoons. And there are 2 quotes from 2 of my favorite cartoons that I think ring true to who I am and my thought process, if you will. First of all, I have a quote from the Demon Cat from Adventure Time with Finn and Jake. For those of you who don't know, it's a great cartoon. It was on Cartoon Network. I think it's on HBO Max. Frequent flyer. I do watch that cartoon even today. I leave it on for my little Scarlet to get her vocabulary up when we go out for drinks and nourishment, things of that nature. But the demon cat from Adventure Time said to Finn in a dungeon, "I have an approximate knowledge of many things." The reason why he said that was because he called Finn Frank the Human Boy. Finn is obviously Finn the Human Boy. And Finn asked the demon cat, "How did you almost know my name?" And the demon cat said, once again, "I have an approximate knowledge of many things." That quote really speaks volumes to me. I have a very broad knowledge of a lot of things. One being, I know that I am a Gemini-Taurus cusp when it comes to astrology. And what that means is I was born on a day that borders the two astrological signs, Gemini and Taurus. Gemini is a wind sign. Gemini is the twins. Tend to be one side or the other, flippy-floppy, multiple personality disorder, things of that nature tend to come with the Gemini astrological sign. Kanye West, a well-known Gemini, is exactly that. A lot of serial killers, I've noticed, are Geminis, or at least the ones that have gotten caught, obviously were too loud to stay hidden for very long. As you can tell, I feel like I've associated myself more with the Gemini astrological sign than the Taurus sign. But as time goes on, I start to see the positives and negatives of both. Now, a Taurus is a earth sign. So, as a wind and an earth sign cusp, not only am I rooted into the floor and very strong about my values and how I live my life, and I'm very proud of the way I live my life. At the same time, I'm also the wind where my thoughts can go to and fro. If you give me some information that I didn't know before, that could very, very possibly sway what I once thought was one thing to another. I trust fairly easily, but at the same time, I don't let that trust, like, you'll say something, I'll be like, yeah, no, that's perfectly cool. Like, I'll totally agree with you, because in my eyes, I don't see why you would lie to me. And take that how you will. If it doesn't affect my life and you say it because this is something that you feel needs to be said, and has no effect on me whatsoever, who am I to take away your happiness? But at the same time, I'll know in my head, like, okay, he says that, she says that, I'm still me at the end of the day. And that's pretty much all I know about the constellations. I know mine, of course. I know my wife's, I know a few, but that's just an approximate knowledge of something that I know that I looked into to figure out who I was. Another quote that really rings true to who I am and who I am is a SpongeBob quote where, and if you guys don't know SpongeBob SquarePants, then I'm sorry, but we cannot have matching best friends forever rings. Patrick, in an older episodes are better for obvious reasons. Patrick said one day, "The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma." And what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that his thoughts are so profound and so wildly obscure that he doesn't even know what he's thinking most of the time. Even he questions the thoughts that go through his head. And that is very, very... I relate to that, boys and girls. I relate to that very much. And what was even more relatable is after he said that, the camera, if you will, panned to his thought bubble, and it was a carton of milk spilling. So Patrick just laid down that immaculate piece of truth, and at the end of the day, all he was thinking about was spilled milk. That is how I feel sometimes. I feel like sometimes I'll get into these arguments with myself. I'll weigh the pros and cons, and I'll be doing this all in my head. And I'm very grateful that I have a lot of friends whose voices and whose wisdom I use throughout my mental conversations with myself. So I'll be like, okay, well, if I was talking to this person, what would they say? And then I'll be like, okay, well, they're saying this. Okay, how would I respond to that? And then this and this and that. And I feel like after a while, I'd forget what I'm even trying to figure out. Or it would be such a minuscule problem on the grand scheme of my day, week, year, life, that it's pretty much just spilled milk. And that's what I bring to the table, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of nuts, but at the same time, I'm very grounded and in tune with my nuts. Moving on, one thing I do love to do is I love to play sports. Basketball, football are my two mains. I am competitive to an extent. I love to compete, but my rationality and my ability to be like, okay, well, is this worth competing for? Is something that does take me back a step if needed. So I'm like my own safety net to an extent. I'll be like, okay, I'm competitive. Let's go hoop up. And then, my shoes are completely worn out and I'm playing on hardwood and I'm slipping and sliding over the place. My competitiveness is gonna fade fast. I'm just gonna be like, this isn't working for me. And so those are things that tailor into who I am. I mentioned SpongeBob. I mentioned Adventure Time with Finn and Jake. I have to mention Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen. Pokemon is something that I have been into since I can't remember when I was born, but I was into it at a very, very young age. And I fell out of my love for Pokemon. I think that was because I was becoming an adult, quote unquote, and I didn't think it was cool, quote unquote. But becoming an adult allows me to make adult money and adult decisions. And since I was able to do those things, obviously my love for Pokemon came back, because what's more adult than loving a show that came out when you were 3? Think about that. I am married, got married in September. I have a lovely wife. I am going to share more about her in time. I'm hoping that she is a part of this with our daughter and I very soon. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I am a dog dad, as you can tell by the beautiful little voice that graced us earlier in the podcast. I am very self-confident, but at the end of the day, I would rather see Scarlett, my wife, my family, my friends, I would rather help them succeed than me succeed. Like, if I had to choose, it wouldn't be tough for me. If, like, okay, my wife's success, my success. My wife's, no problem. because even though I am not succeeding in what I want to do or need to do or feel like I need success in, whatever, I find so much joy in watching the people around me grow and achieve their dreams. And anything that I can do to help them become who they want to be, ladies and gentlemen, I am there. I'm there. I've always been a self-reflector. I always question everything that I do. I'm always the hardest on myself. I don't think I'll never feel like I will be... I am satisfied in a lot of aspects of my life, but I don't think I'll ever be... I don't think I'll ever have enough in terms of what my body, mind, and spirit is capable of. Now, the world around me, you know, I'm very grateful for the life that I have brought up for myself and the people around me. But, you know, if I get a 99% on the test, I'm going to ask what went wrong. I'm going to be hardest on that one question that wasn't answered correctly. Now, is that fair to myself? No. Am I working on it? Yes. Will it take time? Yes. Am I done asking myself questions? Yes. Moving on. I'm an aspiring voice actor. You know, on top of SpongeBob, Adventure Time with Finn and Jake, Pokemon, I also love Marvel, pardon me. I'm not a big fan of marbles. Probably was when I was younger. Probably have some in my gut that I might have eaten when I was a youth. I don't know. I don't remember that far back. But I'm not gonna say it's 0% likely that I didn't eat a marble in my day. But I'd love to be a voice actor. I have always loved cartoons. I had always loved comedy. I've always loved to watch TV and movies. I get very invested in the film. And most movies and TV shows I actually really enjoy if I allow myself to get into them. And it takes hearing the criticism of others to make me see, oh, right, that happened, or this was not great continuity and this and that. But in the moment that I'm actually watching the movie, most of the time I'll enjoy the movie, unless it's just not something I'm into, plain and simple. But I love that aspect of TV shows, you know, cartoons, movies, things like that. I love that it takes you to a world that sometimes may not be as realistic as the real world, but it takes you away. It allows you to think, it allows you to feel for others, and it allows you to kind of just sit back and enjoy the ride. I think the movies are super awesome. I really hope they don't go away. But I would love to be a voice actor. I have this dream of being in that scenario where, you know, our children are watching this cartoon and it's teaching them, you know, the ABCs, etc. And I'll walk into the living room, I'll notice that they're watching the cartoon, and I'll be like, hey, you know that's me, right? They'll be like, Dad, stop. You're crazy, you loser. And initially I'll be a little offended, and then I'll be like, no, watch this. And then I'll make the voice, and they'll be like, whoa, that's super cool. And now I have that dream, and then I also have the dream of them, you know, turning 18, and I'll be like, hey, you remember that cartoon you used to watch when you were younger? That was me. Now with social media and everything, I don't think I can keep my voice acting a secret for that long. So the first option I like a lot better, but I just think that would be so cool. And it's something I've vaguely looked into. I think this is something that might push me to get more into that as time progresses. But as of right now, I just kind of wanted to get my voice out there to the world. Just let you know, hey, I have vocal cords. I know how to use them, and I'm going to allow you guys to listen to them if you will have me. So I really appreciate those of you who are taking the time to listen to this. Going down the list, let's see here. Obviously, I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this is on the list. I do love to party. For those of you that saw Hot Rod, we all love to party, we get it. Not only one person can love to party. I love to have a great time. I love to go out with my friends. I love to experience new things. My wife and I love to hit up, those arcades with food and drinks. We just love to have a really good time, and we're very carefree and youthful souls. That being said, I am what's known as what is it here? It is an ambivert. Now, you have introverts who are need to be inside, need to be in their own zone to feel comfortable, need to feel good in their own space. And I am one of those people, but as I said before, I love to party. So an ambivert is the combination of the two. I believe that I am able to party on occasion, but then I do love my spouse and I's weekends at home with Scarlett, watching movies, making dinner, enjoying, a rainy weekend in with some soup and sandwiches. Just very even keel, relaxing vibrations going on around the house. I'm one of those people that if I order something at a restaurant, I don't feel comfortable saying no asparagus or no onions, how it's prepared. I like to give it a shot as how it comes, how it was made, because I trust that the chef made it that way for a reason. And I don't want to take away from the artistic talent that went into creating this dish. That being said, I guess I want to finalize this first About Me podcast with some information regarding my love for music. Ladies and gentlemen, I love music. As someone who watched a lot of cartoons as a young child and watched a lot of movies, I feel like I need background music for me to feel like my life is going. So when I work, I'm listening to music or podcasts all day. I can't do silence. If I do silence, I can be silent. I'm a great listener. I can be comfortable in, my own space, and silence is not a big issue for me. But I feel like when I'm going about my day and walking along the street and, shooting hoops on occasion, or, again, doing my work day in the office, I need music on. It kind of gives me that lower tone of okay, this is what I'm feeling. I got my upbeat, good morning playlist going. Nothing can stop me now. Or, I'll have my mellow mood playlist going when it's nighttime. And like I said, I was setting the scene in my introverted world with soup and sandwiches on a nice rainy night. And so I wanted to let you guys know that my Spotify Wrapped for 2023 told me that I listened to what culminates to 40 days of non-stop music for the year 2023. 40 days of the year of 365 days. I wish I had done the math. Let me think. Let's see if I can do it in the year. 40 times 24, so that's 0, we're going to get an 8 there, and then 0, and then 8. So that's 880 hours of music? That doesn't sound long enough. I love music, and music is going to be a big part of this podcast. I have a wide range of musical interests. I would love to talk music throughout this podcast. I would love to get recommendations for music. Music is my life. Sound is my life. Talking is my life. Movies, cartoons, things that kind of come out at you. Huh, Scarlett? Oh, now you're tired? Okay, whatever. We'll wrap it up then. Are you guys ready for me to show off how much I learned in English class? Are you ready, Scarlett? To summarize, now, you guys learned a lot about me, but the podcast is really going to tell you guys the full story. It's going to tell you the full story about me. It's going to eventually allow people to come on to my podcast and tell the story about them, the things they love about their lives, the reasons why we love to wake up in the morning and smell the flowers and, pick up those joysticks and play video games and go outside and have dinner and just really take in those sunsets at 5:30 p.m. every day. Very specific, I know. But I'm really excited to be doing this. I'm really excited to bring you guys along on this journey with me. Do you dogs get hairballs? Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There might be another episode. But yes, I'm just really excited. I'm nervous. I just want this to help me, help Scarlett, help my friends and family, help whoever is listening to this. Let me know any pros and cons you guys have for me. I would love to mold my podcast into something that is beautiful and a safe space for people to come and simply be themselves. I know that, like I said before, the world is sometimes scary, a lot of turmoil going on, and in order to really accept and love the life you live, or I live, one thing that I personally needed to do was accept the negative and embrace the positive. So, thank you very much. I want you guys to enjoy your days, have some good drinks, eat some good food, have some great conversation, be around great people, be in a nice, calming, enjoyable environment. And till next time, thank you for listening to The Life I'm Lovin'. Bye-bye.